Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So I've had some questions regarding how to get started with this strength training regimen. If you've had some orthopedic history, had some pain in the past, and just you're kind of a little apprehensive to get started, you know, what's the best exercises to do? What are the safest exercises to do? So I'm going to take you through a 5-exercise circuit that I use with a lot of new clients as an assessment as well as an initial exercise regimen. All right, so there's 5 categories that I'm looking at with the circuit. One is a squat pattern, and the category is important because there's a different squat for every person, but usually there is some squat that someone can do right from the get-go. So we want to look at each of these as categories that we could progress through. So we got a squat pattern, we got a push pattern, horizontal push. So we're going to be doing a floor press here with the back on the ground, pressing a weight up. Then we're going to do some version of a bridge position. In this case, I'm going to use the physioball and work on the bridge, which just biases the posterior chain a little bit more, which is a little different than what the squat would be promoting. And then we're going to do a pulling position, horizontal pull, rowing type movement, and then we're going to do a core type activity. So I'll show an elevated plank here, but then I'll also give a couple other options in case that is even inaccessible from the start. All right, so the first exercise would be to do a squat pattern. I'm usually going to start people sitting on a chair because that's something that we all have done or do at some point in time, and I want to connect the idea of the squat pattern to the function of standing up and then sitting down. So the first thing I want to assess is, can you get up from a chair without using your hands? So the way that I would usually teach this is reach forward, and that reach forward brings the shoulders maybe a little bit out in front of the knees. That starts to lighten the butt on the chair, and then as you stand, you drop the hands down and just see if you can just kind of float up. I don't want this to be hard. I want this to be an assessment. If it feels easy, then we just say, okay, let's add reps, let's add depth, let's add speed. All right, but it's a reach forward, push through the feet, stand up. Okay, and this chair can be elevated, or we can make it harder by dropping down to a lower seat like an ottoman. So I'm usually just getting people started with 5 repetitions. All right, and there's 2 different ways that we can kind of work through this initially. It could be a full sit, pause, breathe in, exhale to stand, sit down nice and slow, fully pause, breathe in, exhale, stand, or we could just be a touch and go. Inhale down, tap, exhale, up. Just 5 reps. Okay. Second exercise, using a dumbbell, getting on the ground, or you can do this on a bed or something, but the ground works better. You don't want to start on a bench right away because it's going to be hard to actually pick the weight up if the weight's on the ground. So you want to be able to have the weight right next to you so you can roll over, pick it up, get your whole body planted on the ground. All right, so it's good to start with your feet bent just so you can keep the arch out of your back. And then you're going to have this other arm go to the side. Exhale, press up. Inhale, bring it down. Okay, so I'll show it on this arm. The arm angle that we're looking for when the weight is down is that the forearm is pretty perpendicular to the ground. And then when you exhale, that forearm is going to stay perpendicular over the shoulder. All right, so inhale, you bring it down. Exhale, you press it up. Find a weight that you can do 5 reps pretty easily. That's usually one of the easiest pushes that you could start with. You can also have a different arm angle, so if you have any shoulder history, you don't have to go in one straight line. The key is to keep this forearm vertical, but some people may have an easier path if their elbow is a little farther away from their body. Some people may feel better with their elbow a little bit tighter. That's fine. Just don't let it hurt, and just try to find a way. If you have some symptoms, see if you can work around the symptoms. Just 5 reps there. The way to progress that is obviously you just do a little bit more weight over time. All right, so that's the second exercise. The third exercise, just use a chair here. And have your calves on the chair with your knees over the hips. And then what we're working on is just tilting the pelvis up, not to go real high, but just to get the lower back and the back of the belt off the ground. A little bit of pressure through the heels and try to feel your hamstrings. If that feels pretty easy, then you bring your arms up and reach there so the ribs come down, and then you just roll up and down, exhaling up. You can go as high as you want as long as your back doesn't arch. So you're trying to curl yourself up so the back pockets go to the back of the knees. Raising the arms makes it a little bit more challenging. And then you roll down in the opposite way that you went up. So it would be sacrum, lower back to upper back on the way up, and then it's upper back, lower back to sacrum on the way down. All right, so that would be a starting point. And then if you have a physioball, you can do something similar where you get started in the same way. You come up, feel the hamstrings, and then you can straighten the legs and then bend the legs, maintaining the same pelvic tilt. This one's usually easier to keep the arms down to start, just to give you more stability. Okay, and you can do 5 to 10 of those, trying to feel that the back of the legs are working, not the lower back. All right, so that would be the third category of exercise. And then either using a chair or an exercise bench. Get that ball out of there. We can go into our rowing maneuver. So with the chair, you're gonna have one knee on the chair. You can have the weight on the ground. You're gonna just try to keep your back flat. Exhale, pull. So this is the opposite motion of the floor press, where now when you finish the pull, your forearm should be pretty perpendicular to the ground. Inhale, straighten the arm. Exhale, pull. About 5 reps each side. You're looking to feel the lat under the armpit as you pull up. You don't have to pull up so much that you squeeze your shoulder blades together. All right, so it would just be feel the tension under the armpit on an exhale. 5 each side there. That would be your fourth exercise. And then the last exercise is some version of a core exercise. So one option I like to use for people, if you have a good mat, is just to see if you can rock on the ground. So you sit with your arms here reaching, or you can even hold your knees to start, and then just see if you can rock back and come back to your feet. Because this becomes a very valuable way to work on what's called a hollow position, which is going to be a foundational movement for building harder core positions. So just seeing if you can grab the knees, rock back, rock up, try to make that feel easy, and then that can be progressed to hands at the side, and just feeling like you're getting easier. That's getting easier and easier. Then you can open your body up into bigger positions over time. But the starting point would just be, can you go to the head, back to the feet, without that feeling painful, without that being too much effort. All right, if that's just not accessible or you don't want to try that, using the same chair you used for your squat as well as your row, you can put your forearms on the chair and you can work a plank position, trying to keep the pelvis tilted, palms up, reach the elbows through. All right, if that starts to bother the shoulders, you can do it for reps where you lift the hips high, walk into the position, hold for a second, and then come out of it, stretch, come into it. So you only have to come into it for one breath at a time. And then you just build up tolerance to being in that position for a longer period of time. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, you can go to movementprofessional.com. I'll see you next time.